I finally cracked and watched the John Carpenter TV movie Elvis.
Mm.
Remember? So from like
Mhm.
the 79, he did that right after Halloween. And I bought that Blu-ray like last year, and the only reason I didn't buy it when I first watched it is because we ended up watching that Austin Butler like Elvis movie with Tom Hanks. And
Gotcha.
then I'm like, well, I'm a little Elvised out, so I wanted to give it some space. And then she wanted to watch the Priscilla movie from Sofia Coppola that came out like 6 months after. So we watched that, and I'm like, I am Elvised out. So I've been pushing the John Carpenter Elvis story, just down the road. And I watched it. It's definitely a TV movie. Kurt Russell's really good. Ultimately, it's like a 5 out of 10, though. It's just, it's 3 hours long, man. It's so long. And with TV films, they seem just, I get it. It's a biopic, but it just seems to be like by the numbers. Like we're just taking you through Elvis's life, event after event after event after event after event.
Yeah.
And it's just a little like, maybe it was a big deal at the time in 1975 because Elvis had only been dead for like a decade, right? And it was probably really built up at the time. I remember my mom says my grandmother could not wait to watch that because my dad's mom was such a huge Elvis, and so I get it, but like since 1979, there's been so many things about Elvis. I've just seen his story done so many times, and frankly, I'm just not interested in it anymore.
I have no interest in Elvis. I
I
mean,
mean,
the
I've
only
I,
biopic really like is La Bamba.
I've just been Elvis to death. I get it. It's interesting enough. He's an interesting figure. I know everything. But I will say this, all the different Elvis films, they do offer different perspective. And sometimes that leads to exploitation. Sometimes there's bias and stuff like that. Like what's his name? Boz Lerner, whatever the guy's name is, the guy who did the Tom Hanks one. That one it's all ultimately telling the same thing, even down to it building up to his big return in Vegas in like 1969, his like kung fu era and his like tassels, and then he, of course, that's when he's all popping the pills and stuff. But it makes him look pretty good. It's a little glossy, like just kind of like that Queen biopic where it's like they just kind of scrubbed all the
No
really
desire
bad
of seeing
stuff.
that either.
I mean, the Queen one's fun. It just they really, you got to look at who's producing these things. It was produced by the band Queen, so they're
Mhm.
gonna make themselves look as good as possible. And I am the Elvis that Austin Butler did. I don't know if it had everybody involved. I know his daughter was involved, and then when they did Priscilla came out like 6 months later. That was Priscilla's movie, and that was just Priscilla. Like she was the person that was working with Sophia, I'm pretty sure. And like, but Elvis's daughter hates that because it makes Elvis look like an asshole.
Yeah.
Because that one's interesting because it's completely through Priscilla's vantage point of her living in Graceland while he's out fucking popping pills and cheating on her like every 2 seconds. And yeah, that one makes him look like a big time asshole. It kind of tilts it a little too far that way. So you never know whose side is accurate, right? It's just like a he said, she said story. The John Carpenter one, it's a TV movie. The farthest he doesn't even really go into the drugs. The furthest he goes is like, oh, Elvis had a temper. Like they show him like smash, like throw something in a hotel room and yell, and he goes, "What's happening to me?" So they give you a little bit, but not much. And at least in that, though, you get to see Elvis when he's like a little boy and talking to like his twin Jesse, his dead twin, and you get to see Elvis in school a little bit. So you don't usually get to see that. So whatever. If you're an Elvis fan, there's something there, but I'm Elvis to death. Yeah, Bubba Hotep, dude. I watched that when it first came out. I remember not liking it, but I've been wanting to go back to it and just
Oof.
watching it again.
I know it's terrible.
I kind of want to watch. It's been 20 years, so I kind of feel
Yeah.
like it's due to watch it again. So I might check that out.
I'm not an
That's,
Elvis guy. I'm not an Elvis fan with his music, so I'm
you don't
not.
like any Elvis music? That's just one of those things where, come on.
It's just not my thing. I like a few songs maybe, but it's just not my thing.